All right, good evening and welcome everybody to Hornets Live presented by American Pie Pizza. And remember, it's Tuesday night, which means $2 Tuesdays here at American Pie Pizza. $2 off a large 14-inch pizza or $2 off your favorite adult beverage. So get over here to 9709 Maul Boulevard and join us for Hornets Live in $2 Tuesdays. And, Coach, you said when this came over here that as soon as you're done, you're taking the pizza and running off. So, well, we've got the Ed and Stu's barbecue. I think Matt over there on camera just devoured one himself. But that is probably if not my favorite, I think it's my second favorite behind the chicken bacon ranch, but that is a really good pizza.
Oh, absolutely. We've had this one before. It's one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah, so whatever you don't take with you is coming home with me. So I'm looking forward to it. Although when Coach Shook gets here in a little bit, he may eat the rest of it, so there may not be anything left, but we'll see what happens. All right, Coach. So we're here at our we're going to call this the Transition Hornets Live, turning the page, whatever you want to call it is. We're going to wrap up football season, and then we're going to let you just put your AD hat on and get your easy job out of the way for the next 6 months, right?
Well, there's no break. As soon as football's over, I was at a basketball game the next Monday. So, it's an ongoing thing. It's a year-round deal, and, that's just the nature of the beast.
So we finally make it to the end of another wild high school football season, and we talked about this a little bit ago, but a 4-6 finish may not have been exactly what you envisioned at the beginning of the year, but I think you got to be happy with how this team responded throughout the season and how they continued to fight no matter what obstacles were placed in front of them.
Well, I mean, talk about obstacles and what a team normally has to deal with. Any one of the featured items that we had to deal with this year would set a lot of teams back, but it seemed like the hits keep coming. We had 5 or 6 things that no team should have to deal with, but our guys were relentless and kept going, pushed till the very end. Gave Greenbrier everything they wanted.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that too. I want to talk about just how that season ended. A heartbreaking loss to a Greenbrier team that realistically I don't think too many people around the state gave us a chance to beat. But I felt like this was probably one of the most complete games that we played all season, and especially defensively, I think you guys played physically and an opportunistic defense against Greenbrier.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we've got a lot of good players on defense, and they were able to really show what they were able to do. I thought we played a really good defensive game. Those guys played with a lot of heart and gave us a lot of opportunities.
Early on, it seemed like you were able to get junior Weston Pierce settled in pretty quickly. And honestly, it really started on a play that I think shocked all of us on the 57-yard touchdown run. We got the highlight up here, and I say shocked all of us. And I think if you listen to my call, you can tell I was surprised. When he rounded that corner, I thought for sure he was going to out of bounds at the 40-yard line. And when he rounded the corner, he literally runs away from the guy. I've not seen that from – maybe you've seen it in practice, but I know in a game that we've called, I've not seen Weston with those wheels all year long.
We had a conversation, and me and Weston have a good relationship. We kind of talk a little outside of the box, when nobody's around. And I said, anytime you pull the ball, you're going to have 10 yards because all the film they could get on us, which is, this day and age, you can get every single film on every single body.
We provide a little bit.
We provide it on this show, and that's okay. They can have that. But the tendency would be that he wouldn't pull it and run. He may pull and throw, but he wouldn't pull and run. I said, anytime you pull it and run, you're going to have 10 yards. And, that was a great time for it right there. We had a play call that, it looked like we were going to run it on a predictable run down, or in a predictable situation. And, he was able to look up and see it, and he pulled it. And, the only shock there was that he smoked everybody in the end zone. It wasn't the fact that he made a good read and that he did what he was coached to do. It was the fact that he got all the way to the end zone, and I was one of the most proud people right there. And if you had a back end camera of it, I ran from where we were at right there all the way to the 25 and threw on the brakes right about the time he scored. So I think I was running stride for stride with him.
We'll have to go back and see if somebody's got that film. But, yeah, you're right. And to see, Weston's made that decision a couple times. Little Rock Christian, he had one where he pulled out and was able to score. And I've joked with Weston several times throughout the season when, especially early when we had a lot of the quarterback sneaks, he says, well, no one knows that they're only 1-yard rushes. They just, in the book, they show a touchdown, And so this one was one of those. where, I mean, 57 yards, I don't know, again, like you said, the speed was what was surprising, I think, to most, to see him get around and really just outrun a pretty athletic Greenbrier defense on top of that.
Well, Weston's sneaky athletic. You know, you remember how Matt Jones would outrun people and it didn't look like he was running fast. Well, Weston's got that length too, you know, so it was nice to see him use it right there. That was a huge play for us and kind of got us started on the right foot.
So I think one of the more overlooked parts of being a high school coach is that every year you're really having to adjust your style to fit the athletes that you have. You know, at the college level, you're recruiting for guys that fit your system. In the NFL, you're buying guys that fit your system.
Sure.
But in high school, you are at the mercy of who comes through your program. And you know, you've got your programs out there that are able to build things from elementary on up, and they ingrain these things. And while every high school would love to be able to do that, the truth of the matter is once they get to high school, you've got to use what they do best to make your team better. And I feel like you've got to feel really good about this nucleus of juniors, especially led by Weston coming back at quarterback next year.
Well, when you follow AAA's rules and you don't recruit, you know, you got to win with what you have naturally growing. You know, and you know, like I said when they called me last year, you know, 64 out of 67 kids have been here since 7th grade. Yep. You know, and you know, I may be a little outside the box with Central Arkansas, you know, because you look around and not everybody does that. But
That's right.
You know, we've tried to win what we've had, and you know, we adjust to try to put the players in a good spot.
Well, so the players that have been here and those seniors, and we've talked about this senior class and how special they've been, they came up really big on defense. I thought C.J. Murphy and Nico, and not just those two guys, but that's just those two guys on the line, I thought played really, really well in the backfield a lot from the defensive line. And then senior Maurice Mosby, a guy that I want to say was in one of our first games that we ever did last season. Maurice had a pick six for a touchdown. So we got to see Maurice do it. He's done it a couple of other times, but he had a big one against Greenbrier and had the big pick six that we'll see here on this video, on this highlight, on a play that, you know, maybe a teaching moment for Maurice here at the end of this, but otherwise a great play for Maurice to get in front of that and then take it to the house and really turn the momentum back in our favor at this point in the game.
Well, Maurice is a special athlete. You know, last year, you know, he had a pick six to close out the Bologna game. It was a 14-8 game, which was we're all sitting on pins and needles. You know, we weren't able to kind of finish that offensively, but you know, he closed it out with a pick six against Bologna last year, and that was kind of the first time, you know, we were able to highlight his skill set. But you know, he's just as good as anybody as far as athletic ability and big playmaking ability. You know, he almost celebrated too soon there. You know, I'm glad he got in before that ball came loose, but it was a heck of a play.
Will shaking his head over there. I'll just say what I said on the broadcast. I'm glad we don't offer instant replay in high school. I think he was in. From our angle, you couldn't tell.
In hindsight, you know, there may be a couple other calls that could have gone our way.
Absolutely.
You know, so, you know, we're glad that stood and that big play was able to be a touchdown for us.
Yeah, for sure. So after a strip sack by Nico, senior Roderick Watts, the best wide receiver in 5A, showed his athleticism once again to extend the lead to 21-7 on this 56-yard catch and run. And we're going to start this video with Nico's strip sack, a play that I don't even know for sure that Nico knew that he got the ball out of there as he kind of makes the play and it's coming out, and then we recover it. But a great job by Nico to get in there and make that play, and a great job by your defense to get the recovery.
Well, you know, when Nico's right, when he's healthy, you're not blocking him with one person. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. I mean, it doesn't matter how good that guy is. You know, he's going to win his matchup. He's a matchup nightmare. You know, when he's healthy, and you know, when we're controlling, you know, the time of possession, when he's not out there too much. You know, when he's playing with the full motor, I mean, he's a matchup nightmare, and that was a big kickstart for us.
Absolutely. And you'll see here the play by Rod, which, again, it just impresses me every week that we get to see him out there, makes a catch on just a little short out and then a little bubble, and then takes off up the sidelines and outruns another very, very athletic Greenbrier defense and kind of ran all the way. I think he was running all the way back to Maul after that.
Well, you know, and this was a benefit of having a week 10 bye. You know, we had to have that gauntlet of a schedule for non-conference, you know, due to Hall dropping and everything. But having that week 10 bye and being able to prepare for, you know, a specific defense for 2 weeks, you know, it starts with Weston making a really good read. You know, I mean, we knew, you know, boundary side of the field, if we had the ball on the short side of the field, that our zero screen would be there. Most of the time, we had to take a look at it, and Weston did a good job of reading it. And then, at that point, we had a good block from Hunter Speck, and, Rod did the rest.
So a late score at the end of the half by Greenbrier would make it 21-14. But you guys had to be feeling really great about how you played in the first half when you got to the locker room.
Yeah, what we talked about at the front end of halftime, which we don't talk about much on the air, but I heard some parents, I heard some supporters saying, complain about officiating, and there was some, clock issues on the back end of the first half. But we talked about that doesn't matter. I mean, we won the first half. That's part of winning a game. And we're going to halftime. We've got a lead. We outplayed them the first half, and now all we have to do is outplay them second half, and we're going to come out winners here. And I really thought we were in a good place coming out of halftime.
Yeah, and you talk about kind of the way that half ended, and I know that on the call we were confused, but I think either way, because I think it was a personal foul. I think it ended up being called on Jordan. I went back and kind of watched the video, and it's hard to tell what's going on at the bottom of that pile in that situation.
I got an explanation, and I thought the officiating crew, I thought they did they worked hard. I thought they did a good job. I don't think anything was intentional with it, but the explanation I got, which had to be off a timeout, that's the only way I could get it, but the explanation I got was it was a defensive delay of game because the defensive player wouldn't get off his tackle so that he could spot the ball, and that was the reason for the stop clock. For that particular time, my actual question was about a different time, but I really thought that officiating crew worked hard. I don't think they were intentionally trying to mess us over.
No, and I think, and that's when I went back and looked at it, it's hard to tell because there may be a lineman that was laying on the feet of I think it was Jordan that was involved in that, but it was hard to tell even what was going on there. But regardless, it was a defensive penalty, so even though the clock should have been running from I think 12 or 14 seconds, they still would have had another play to end the half either way. So it really didn't matter at the end of the day. It was 21-14. You guys had played extremely well, and then in the second half didn't take long to get things going. As once again Weston finds Roderick Watts on the long ball, and this beautiful throw and catch made it 28-14. And I can tell you at that point, Twitter was quite a buzz about the potential upset that was brewing in Greenbrier.
Well, and I give a lot of credit to our players. This was Weston and Rod, really doing their homework with what we talked about as cues and stuff. We felt that their corner was biting down on our quick stuff because we had set it up with that, the play before with our zero screen and Rod finishing that off and Weston making a good read. This was a good time to take a shot, and so they were begging me to do it, and I had to go with the popular decision, and then they executed it. So, it was definitely a big play for us. Well,
it was a great call. I know that as a coach and first year OC this year now, you get to hear it, and I'll give you a little hard time here in a little bit, but it was a great call in that moment, and obviously gave you a 2-score lead. But give Greenbrier a ton of credit. As good as we played great defensively. They were able to make some breaks. We had a couple of tough plays, a fumble, down inside the 10-yard line. But there's a reason that Greenbrier was the top team out of the West and undefeated coming into this game. It's a good club, really good ball club, senior loaded team, and they battled back to get a late field goal to take a 31-28 lead.
Well, my first conference win as a head coach was against Tribble Coach Tribble when we were in the West, and I've always respected the job he's done. He's a legend, and he's got a good staff, and he's got a good team, and so we knew we were going to have to earn everything we could get, and we knew that his team would play a full game.
But our Hornets had a great chance as we'd get the ball at the 32-yard line with 1:20 left in the game. And I don't have the highlight up there, but a great 39-yard throw. And I almost wanted to bring Hunter Speck in here with us again tonight just because I feel like every time there's a big moment in a game when I'm doing the call, I can almost always count on being able to say at least 2 or 3 times a game Hunter Speck's behind the defense open. And he was on that moment, a 39-yard catch and then an 18-yard connection to Watts. And suddenly the offense with 40 seconds left, we're sitting on the 11-yard line and a timeout call to get ready for a big play. And I know, one, you had to be feeling good. You know that you've drove down the field. At worst, you've got a Brookhaven field goal to send you to overtime in this situation. But you've got a couple of opportunities, hopefully, to punch it in the end zone as you come over for the timeout. What was the conversation when you guys came over on that timeout before that final play?
Well, we wanted to win the game. We didn't want to kick a field goal and go to overtime or whatever. I've had time to hindsight and throw myself under the bus and shoulda, woulda, coulda, all that kind of stuff. At the time we were thinking, that was a play that we ran every single day in practice and had a lot of success with. We thought it was a good option. We knew that there was an escape route, if you will. If it wasn't there, we could throw it out. We felt good about it. Leaving the timeout.
Well, and it's easy for fans and even a play-by-play guy like myself to question play calls during a game. We're not down there on the sideline. We're not in the moment, and so it is easy for us to do that. But I do want to talk about that final play because, I think even in the moment I pondered if we should have run the ball. But again, when you go back and you look at the play, and we'll have the play up here, Will can play the call or run the play for us as we look at it. But you've got options underneath. It was a well-designed play, and I think obviously. A tough decision at the end of there. You can't put any blame on Weston trying to make a play here and get a win. But I think, obviously you've got another year with Weston. This is a learning experience. Every game, whether you win or lose, is something you can learn from. And in that scenario, probably something where you're telling him to throw it in that baseball field over there versus throw it there.
Well, in hindsight, what I was talking about just a minute ago, which woke me up anytime I tried to go to sleep for the first week after that. We're coming off a timeout. I probably should have came out with 2 plays. We probably should have ran it and then ran a pick play back right. After that, and then maybe came with the quads play. The reason we came to that as a staff was because we've had a lot of success with that, and the kids felt comfortable with it. They ran that play well, and we've had a lot of success with it in practice. But, you can hindsight things every time. It's always 20/20. I'd like to see the alternate world with it because it didn't work out.
Yeah, well, and you make a good point there because I think, whether it's high school, college, NFL, as a fan, and I like to call it on social media fanatic, which is, fan short for fanatic, and we like to get a little crazy at times. But, again, what we forget as a fan is that we're not at practice. We're not in that dogfight every day in practice and seeing what plays work and what you guys are comfortable with. You know your team. You know what they're comfortable doing. And so the execution of the play just has to be good. And in that scenario, it was a tough read, but you ran the right play. You ran the play that you felt gave your team the best chance to win. And a tough way to end it. But, at the end of the day, this was a game that Hooten's picked Greenbrier to win by double digits. And you've got to be proud, again, of the fight of your team against one of the best teams in 5A.
Well, I'm proud of our team for a lot of things, and more than anything, it was their fortitude. The game, I've said it several times, is kind of a microcosm to our season. We're that close, and close doesn't count, and as far as second guessing goes and everything like that, it's a fan wants to see a play that works. They don't care why it doesn't work. And so that's our job. That's our product on the field, players and coaches. And, we've got to accept when we don't come through, and we're so close, but close doesn't count.
Yep, but and again, it happens. It's part of the game, and again, I go back to Andy and I don't do our High on the Hogs podcast very often anymore. If we did, Will would have too much to do and he'd be mad at us. But I equate it to you look at if you're an Arkansas fan, and especially if you're an Arkansas fan on Twitter during game days, you see from about the first quarter until the final 2 minutes of the game, everybody's screaming for Kendall Briles to be fired. Everybody wants Kendall Briles out of Arkansas, and Arkansas goes 8-4 as a top 15 offense in the country. And I think people forget as a fan that not every play is going to work. Not as much as you want to call it to work, it's not going to work. And not everybody understands your personnel and understands what's going on behind the scenes. So, we can sit here and battle it. You can throw yourself under the bus all you want. At the end of the day, this was a fun season. It was a great season, and it may not have ended where you guys wanted it to, but you got to the playoffs. The seniors got to accomplish some great things this year. And again, at the end of the day, we can talk about what ifs, but what if a couple of things go different ways? You lose 5 games this year by 17, 20 points, something like that in total. So, again, great season, a lot of fun, and really a lot of fun getting to follow this senior class and what they were able to do and accomplish.
Well, as much as I went through personally this year and, what these kids had to endure, I'm really proud of them, and I'm glad we had this time together, and I really feel like we grew together and we finished the job as best we could.
So before we turn the page from football to basketball, because pretty sure I see Shook hiding behind some folks over there, but I want to talk one last time about this senior class. We're fortunate enough to get to follow a couple of these seniors as we turn the page to basketball, as Jordan's going to kind of get some time over there, and Rod, as well as Nico. But just talk about this senior class one more time before we let you go, and just how special they've been to this program.
Well, they all stepped up, prematurely. Most rights is they all played as sophomores. They've been a part of, Maul High School making the playoffs 3 straight years after not making it for 2. So, I've been really proud of them. As growing up as boys to men, if you will, and really just becoming, very good young men.
Well, I want to say thanks to those seniors, and I appreciate them allowing us to be part of the journey. They've all been great to us. We've had a lot of fun getting to know each and every one of them, and we look forward to watching them as they develop, whether it's just to go on for education at the next level, whether it's to play football at the next level, or just continue doing what they're going to do once they graduate from high school. I look forward to following those paths. So, again, big thanks to our seniors. Appreciate everything that they brought to the program and did for the program, and now we get to look forward to guys. We see Weston sitting over here chowing down on some pizza. We get to look forward to having a senior quarterback leader next year and building a nucleus around those guys as we get ready for the 2022 season.
Absolutely. We really appreciate you guys giving them the exposure they deserve, for all their efforts on the field.
Well, there's a few of these guys that we're still working real hard to try to get some offers. So, this is not to leave anybody out, but I know we put a lot out there for Rod and Jesse and Jordan and CJ and Maurice and all of these guys and every one of these seniors. So we want to see that every one of these guys who want an opportunity at the next level get an opportunity at the next level, and that's been our goal at Natural State Sports, and we're just happy to be able to do it at Maul.
Well, we're very appreciative of it, and these guys are going to land in a good place because they're going to be seen. Absolutely.
Well, Coach, that's going to do it for football season. We're going to wrap it up. You can go, as I said, go relax in your AD chair, and when we get back, we're going to be joined by the head coach of your defending 5A state runner-up Hornet basketball team, Coach Michael Shook. Motion man, and Wilcox runs straight to the right. Nico right there on top of him. Brookhagen with him, and they'll pull him down for a 3-yard loss.
That's what they're going to want to do if they want to win this game.
Wilcox, he'll get the snap all alone in the backfield, close to the left side. He's got his man. He's going to be met immediately, though, by Jesse Knight. And a great job there by the Hornets. Pulls him down. That's McElhaney on the catch. Wilcox gets the snap. He's going to hand this one up the middle. The Hornets are all over that one. As Nico, the Predator, Dabby, Jesse pulls it down side. Jesse trying to get around the corner, makes a man miss. Jesse across the 30, 35, spin move. He'll drag a man to the 37, and that will be a McCarty Neeson. He will hand this. No, he kept it. Pierce keeps this one to the left. Got a lot of room to run. Weston across the 40. He's out running everybody. Across the 20, 10, 5. Weston Pierce, touchdown, Hornets. That's new. We've not seen that one this year. As Weston Pierce gets around the corner and takes it to the house.
Talk about a good decision on his part.
Wilcox, view it to his right. Let's get the snap, fakes it to do it. He's looking on your throw. Here comes the pressure. Harrison's got it. He's not getting away from Big Jordan Harrison. As Harrison gets the sack, pulls him down back. Gets the snap, low snap, bobble it, picks it up. He's got it clean now looking. Here comes the pressure. He throws it away. Might be big. It is. Mosby's got it. He's going to the house. Mosby 40, 30. He's going to have to make a cut to get around Wilcox. He will. Into 10, 5, and touchdown. Oh, he knocked it out at the end of the play. Let's see. Touchdown, Hornets.
Touchdown.
Woo!
Let's go.
Very close. Low snap again, looking left. Hornets coming. Hornets got him in the backfield, and they pull him down. That's Brookhagen, and Wilcox may be hurt. Quickly, 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3. See if they're going to get it off. They do. Bounces it back there. Ball's on the ground. Picks it up. The Hornets going to get stopped.
Wow.
Big stop for the Hornets. Their own breaks and make great plays. Now Wilcox, and that's Nico on his back. Nico pulls him down. The Predator gets another sack, and that's a big thing. He fumbled. He did. The ball is out. Let's see. Did the Hornets get it? Maul football. Yes, sir. Nico gets the forced fumble. The Hornets recover it, and it's 1st and 10 for the Hornets at the 45-yard line.
This Hornet team just.
All right. So now Pierce, I believe that is Crawford in the backfield. I think that's Jesse. That is Jesse. They'll fake it to him. Goes quickly. That's Rod. Rod makes the catch across midfield. 45. Breaking free to the 40. He may go. 30. Inside the 20. 15. 10. 5. The best wide receiver. 5. 8. Does it again. Touchdown, Hornets.
Yes, sir, baby. Roderick Watts to the house, 60 or 55 yards, and the Hornets have built a 2-score lead in this one.
This green brighter.
Wilcox, another low snap. Boy, who is that? Is that Murphy or Nico? Boy, Nico. He's being held in the backfield. Still almost got him. Now Wilcox gets away for the moment. Mcgee runs him down. I don't know how. Wilcox gets the snap. Looking to throw. Pressure up the middle by Brookhagen. Got him. Throws it up in the air, and it is down
to the right side of Pierce. They're going to give it to him. No, faked it, took it out, wants to go deep. Throwing deep, looking for Watts. Watts goes up, makes the catch. Watts has got it to 20, 10, 5, touchdown!
Wow.
Hornets! That is the best wide receiver in 5A right there, baby.
My name is Brandon Aker. I'm the owner and pharmacist here at Aker Family Pharmacy in Maul. So here in our pharmacy, we like to focus on a hyper-personalized relationship with our patients, and that continues into our service sets. So we offer free delivery, curbside vaccinations, as well as custom compounded medications, including extended hours as well. I think you don't know the level of intimacy that you're going to get with your patients until you really get in it, and I can't imagine doing anything else.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to Hornets Live. Now, before we officially turn the page, I've got to say thank you to our sponsors for football season, Dio Vanucci and Cornerstone Home Lending, Aker Family Pharmacy, Brooke Brolo Allstate Insurance Agency, McClarty Nissan, Akel's Carpet One, PI Roofing, the Brooks Insurance Agency, and, of course, our friends right here at American Pie Pizza. And we still have some great advertising opportunities for basketball season. So if you want, or if you just want to support our broadcast with a donation, please send us a direct message on social media. So now you see a new face to my left here, or to my right if you're watching the other way. But it's time to turn the page and talk Hornet basketball. And I'm excited to be joined by Maul Hornet head basketball coach Michael Shook. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Appreciate you. Thank you very much. It's been awesome watching the coaches show with Coach Horton during the football season, and looking forward to doing it with the basketball season.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I know, last year we didn't really get to get Horton on our football broadcast because we weren't there full time, but we got to get you guys on our basketball broadcast preseason or pregame, and so this will be a little different animal to get you guys here and some of our players, and who knows, maybe we'll get to see Coach Coleman here a few times maybe, and Coach Hall, and maybe even Coach Lightfoot. We'll see what happens there. So be exciting to have those guys around. But before we get into this year's basketball team, I do want to talk about our friends over at Aker Family Pharmacy. They're back with us for basketball season. They're going to be the sponsor of our Aker Family Pharmacy free throw line. And this week they're kicking off the holiday season with their holiday open house from 1 to 4 p.m. So be sure and go see our friends at Aker Family Pharmacy this Saturday at 1900 Club Manor Drive and tell them thanks for supporting Hornet Athletics. All right, Coach. I want to start first with last season because we got to enjoy that whole ride from start to finish, basically a state runner-up finish to a really good Jonesboro team. But it was an exciting journey for us to follow, and we really can't wait to see where this season takes us.
Yes, sir. Last year we knew we were one of the better teams in the state. We were probably 5th or 6th, really. Realistically, all year. That's kind of where they had us ranked. We didn't have as many of the big name guys that get all the Twitter hype and all of that, do you want to offer this and that and everything. And, we just kind of kept that mentality that if we played together, 5's going to beat 1 or 2. And that's what, those top teams had was those 1 or 2 guys. The guys really bought in, with Josh and Darvis, their senior leadership, and J-Bo. They really set the tone for everybody, and they were invested in the program and the team, and then that led to the Carl and Nico and those other guys, those underclassmen, they bought in as well, and just the way they came together there at the end of the season, it was a perfect storm for us. We were fortunate enough in the first round of the state tournament. We're playing Marion, and it's tie ball game. They call timeout at the end of the game when they don't have one, and we caught a break, step up, knock down the free throw, get fouled, knock it down again, move on. Played a really good Russellville team. Yeah. They've won their conference several years in a row, and we were able to play really well, and we had scouted them really well, and were able to do some things to kind of control that game. And then, of course, the big semifinal game against, Sylvan Hills and Nick and all of those guys. And I mean, I felt comfortable that we were in control pretty much from opening tip to the horn.
Yeah.
I mean, they made a late push there at the end of the game to make it a little bit closer. And, of course, if you'd asked me at that moment, I'd have said, no, we have to finish. Like, we need the horn to go off. But in reality, looking back, it was really never in question. We pretty much controlled it. And then, like you said, a really, really good, well-coached Jonesboro team. They came out more relaxed. We were a little uptight early on. We dug ourselves a big hole. Halftime, we talked about some adjustments and some changes we wanted to make, and then the guys went out and they did their jobs. They executed. We ended up out. We were down 16 at half. We outscored them 14 in the third quarter. And then ended up playing them even in the fourth and ended up losing by 2. We had a shot there at the end. It was kind of a tough one, the last second throw. But, I was just so proud of those guys because, if you'd asked across the state, no one would have said we were supposed to be there. And
right.
So the fact that they bought into the program and putting team first, it showed, how good we could be.
Well, it was a great, as I said before, it was a great journey. And this season roster, we'll get into it in a minute, it's going to look quite a bit different from last year. There won't be any white chocolate patrolling the perimeter and no automatic double-doubles inside. So talk a little bit about the challenges of molding this new roster without the leadership of guys like Josh Denton and Darvis Raspberry who have moved on to Hendricks and UAM.
You can't replace a Josh or a Darvis. Their leadership, their skill set, their everything about them, they were everything you could want, and so we definitely won't be able to replace them, but we've got enough guys, between Carl and Nico and Riley and KT, guys that were starters and first men off the bench and played contributing minutes, that they got that experience, so they're able to just carry on that tradition, and yes, we do have some new guys. I know you said we're going to talk about them, but so far to this point, they've done a really good job of buying into, the buzzwords culture, but, just doing what we do, playing the way we want to play, buying into putting the team first and doing those things. And so I think we do have enough returners that experience that they can help the coaching staff to lead on, where we want to go.
Well, let's talk about that roster because it's going to take a few games, I think, for folks to know the names, especially Andy and I down there on the sideline. But you've got some names to know on this roster, and I want to start with those returners because you do have a good mix of guys that returned and gave you some minutes last year, as well as some new guys that are the new guys to the program this year. And I want to start with the returners, though, and our first returning player is a guy that I think everybody's going to know, UCA signee Carl Daugherty Jr.
Yes, sir. There's so much I could say about him. I mean, we could spend the whole show talking about him. He's just –
We'll have plenty of opportunities throughout the season, I think, to
know.
talk plenty about Carl.
Carl's just – he's such a phenomenal young man, and that's – everybody – obviously they know he can play. They know he can shoot it, and that goes without being said. But, I really want to praise just – he's such a high-character kid. He's a hard worker, A-B student, really good teammate, and he's got all those characteristics, like I talked about with Josh and Darvis, that you really want in someone that's going to be a leader for you. Of course, on the court, he was our leading scorer last year, so, we returned him. That's great. He's continued to work on his game and improve his game. He's not just able to shoot the three or knock down the mid-range. He can get to the basket. He's playing better defense this year. Like, he's developing into the all-around player. And like I told the coaching staff at UCA, they're getting a steal. He's a heck of a player, and he's going to do a really good job up there.
Yeah, one thing that I've noticed out of Carl, just kind of watching him throughout the summer in summer ball through the summer circuit, is his explosiveness is different this year. He's a guy that, last year we had some guys that could kind of get to the rim. Maybe not over the rim, but they could get to the rim. And Carl seemed to be one of those guys. He could kind of get up there, and there were times towards the end of the year where he'd try, but Carl was your guy that – well, I'll say this. Before we got into the 5A the tournament, Carl was the guy that was really he worked the perimeter. He had some drive play, and then all of a sudden it seemed like a switch flipped. And we like to say now that Dylan has gotten the name Band-Aid, it started that day that Carl took the shot to the eye and had to get the Band-Aid on his eye. He suddenly became it seemed like just a different physical player. And I remember talking to him a couple of times when he was our player of the game in Hot Springs last year. But that seems to be one of the big differences. And I know you spent a lot more time with him, but one of the big differences on the court that I've seen from Carl is his explosiveness, especially getting to the rim, just seems like it's at a different level this year.
Absolutely. We, one of our favorite drills, and you can ask any guy that's ever played for me, is 95 and 5. It's a full court layup drill. They've got to get 95 in 5 minutes, and dunks count as 2. And like you said, the last couple of years, he's an automatic make on the layup every time. But he's gotten to where this year, this summer when we've done it and all preseason when we do it, he's going up and dunking every one of them, and just it's with ease now. Whereas it used to be one of those things after practice, all the guys hang around and take turns trying to dunk and stuff with nobody around, no defense or anything. And now it's like, he's running the court, and it's just he's getting up there with ease and dunking almost every one of them. Yeah. So it's I've definitely noticed that. He's worked really hard in the weight room, and it's paying off.
So the next guy, he really needs no introduction. We did have to do a little recruiting. We had to get permission from the head hog, I think. But Nico, the point guard, Daugherty, makes the decision to play his senior year before heading to the Hill to play on the defensive line for the Hogs. You got to be excited about the addition of Nico to this year's team.
Oh, you have no idea. I really appreciate you guys and all you did in helping that. And big shout out to Coach Pittman. Nico did verify that was the final, thing that helped give him the confidence to come play. He loves basketball and he's really good at it and he wanted to play. But, there was that question of, do I want to risk anything? And Coach Pittman told him, I love when my athletes are multi-sport athletes and they go out and compete and, show they can be coached by multiple coaches and things like that. And so that gave him the nod, and we are extremely grateful. We're really solid at guard. And we've got some guys that can play inside, but none of them are like Nico. And so getting him it was such a boost for the whole team morale. You'll get to meet Colby, and I know we'll talk about him later, but you should have heard how excited he was when he said, "Man, this pick and roll with me and Nico, it's gonna be on." And so, but yeah, it's definitely big time having him. With his leadership, and the way he was able to really help with the football team and lead that defense and be successful. And last year he was a starter for us. And he big time contributor. And I know Darvis had the double-double nickname, but I'm fairly certain that Nico will be averaging a double-double this year as well. But yeah, no, he's been here 2 weeks, and already just made such a huge impact. Not only in the game, obviously, against, I know we'll talk about it in a little bit, but against North Little Rock, he had 25 points, and but just in practice, he's a vocal leader. He holds guys accountable when they're not doing what they're supposed to. He gets on them, and they listen.
Yeah. That's a voice you can listen to pretty easily, though.
Absolutely.
And you bring that up, though, and I do want to talk about that. For those of you who were able to get into the arena on Saturday and watch that game between North Little Rock and Maul. I know that if you looked on social media after the game, if you didn't come to the game and you got on social media after the game, you saw the gaudy numbers for Khalil Ware: 18 blocks, 12 rebounds, all this, that, and the other. And maybe it was my I caught a lot of grief on social media for a couple of days after that. And I'll just call it my bias. This was nothing against Khalil Ware. Khalil Ware is a phenomenal player. The kid's a matchup nightmare for anybody he plays. He's 7 foot tall, for goodness sakes. He's going to be a matchup nightmare against anybody. But to watch, and I know it wasn't on Khalil every time. He had different matchups. But to see Nico come off of two basketball practices, football season, 2 basketball practices, probably not the most intense basketball practices he would have seen, and then to walk in and put up 25 points in a matchup with a guy like Khalil Ware, pretty impressive for a guy that's a football player, a defensive lineman football player at that.
Well, and I know it's a big part of the reason the Hogs wanted him, but he moves. He moves like he's 165 pounds, not 265 pounds. He's so light on his feet. He's so quick. And, that was one of the things we talked about at halftime was getting him the ball on the perimeter and allowing him to attack. He's just, it wasn't working pounding it inside and trying to go up over the 7-footer with the 7'6" wingspan. So, we had to make some adjustments, and Nico, he was up to the challenge. And like I said, with that God-given ability that he has, I mean, he's going to be tough for anyone to guard, just because he's so strong, so quick, so skilled, and so he's definitely a matchup nightmare for most people out there.
Well, we give plenty of nicknames. The point guard is one of them that we've given Nico. I go back to the Parkview matchup at our place last year. I think it was not long after that he was going to be announcing his top 7, and he made a play in that game that I always go back to, that highlight where he took the ball from half court and drove to the basket. I think he went behind his back and around a guy, laid it up, got the and one. Just really impressive, and that was the moment. I think when people ask me what Nico's going to be like at the next level of football-wise, I don't bring his football stuff up. I bring his highlight of that up because it does. It shows that footwork and how quick he is and just how athletic he is as a guy that's as big as he is. So I know you're excited. We're excited to have Nico back this year. He's a lot of fun.
Well, and I know you're buddies with old Monty Patel.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure he's watching right now.
Not
if
a
he's
shooter.
Not, he'll watch the replay. But, yeah, we at practice today, we did a little short scrimmage, and Nico hit 3 or 4 threes. So just letting Monty know, if you call him not a shooter, get ready because he's coming for you. So.
We never let Monty live that down. He actually got to be on a broadcast with us during the 5A tournament, and we gave him a hard time there. Sir. So Riley, and now we talk about nicknames. This is where we're going to have some issues, but I know those guys have sort of got it worked out, but we'll see how it goes. But Riley Easy Money Wade won't return until January or around that time frame because of an injury. But I've been impressed watching him work in the gym. I mean, this is a guy. He's got me excited to see him on the floor as soon as we can get him on the floor.
Absolutely. He tore his ACL in the spring playing AAU ball. Got a surgery pretty quick, and immediately started his rehab. And his desire to be on the floor is unmatched. And pausing on this year, going back to last year to comment on that, at the beginning of the season last year, we had 7 guys, so everybody played. And then when football came over and we added a JV and all that, several of the guys, their playing time changed. And, obviously adding Nico, that's going to affect everybody else because he can do things that other guys can't. And Riley's playing time went way down. He went from being a starter to not playing much. And he and we talked, and I, let him know. I said, hey, work on X, Y, and Z, and you'll see more playing time. He took it to heart. He did exactly what we asked. He showed he was coachable. And then for the entire conference season and state tournament run, he was our starting point guard, And so fast forward into this year, even though he's been out, he's in the gym every single day getting up shots. And the way he's shooting the ball right now, and, of course, I know he's not running up and down the floor and it's set shots and things, but he is shooting the ball at an extremely high percentage because of the hard work. Like I said, he's in there every day. He comes in at lunch. He comes in after practice and stays and shoots on the gun, and he's really putting in the work. Like I said, I'm excited for him to get back. Band-Aid told me that he's almost at the point of being cleared to start some practice. So we're looking forward to that. I'm hoping that'll be in the next week or so, that we can start slowly getting him into practice and doing some things. And we're hoping the goal is that he'll get to start playing at Neosho, with limited minutes and get some live game reps in before the conference season starts.
Well, great. Well, like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing Riley out there. He's a lot of fun to watch. Our next returner is a guy that was a JV contributor last year, but Dejean Scoot Brown is a guy that I think could have some opportunities to work into the mix a little bit this year as well. Yeah.
We call him Scooter. He's so quick with the ball. And it's almost impossible to stay in front of him. He's got a floater that, it's pretty much automatic. Most kids, when they throw those up, I'm like, I'd rather you just stop and shoot the jump shot or get all the way to the basket. But I want him to shoot the floater every time. Like sometimes I'm like, just jump from the three-point line and throw the floater up. I think you got a better chance of it going in, just because it's so impressive to watch him. And he has, like I said, he's been working really hard. He's getting better every day, and I think being a part of that group last year and getting to work with those guys and see what it takes, because he came in, he was raw, had some natural skill, natural ability, but the structure of a high school basketball is a little different than just playing pickup. And last year getting to see that I think's really helped him. And then this preseason he's learning and continuing to improve for sure.
So Caden Mcgee returns as a glue piece from last season's team. And not only that, he's also a guy, or we can always count on his dad to be the voice of reason with the officials from the stands. So I know we're excited about that. He can do some yelling for you. But talk about Caden and what his contribution to this team is going to be this year as well.
Well, Caden, like you said, he didn't play a ton last year, but he is one of the returning guys that dressed varsity, and he hit a couple big shots in the state tournament. And that's the thing about Caden. Like you said, a glue guy, that's a great name because he gets along with everybody. I see him in the cafeteria. He's hanging out with everybody. Before practice, he bonds so well with everybody, and he adjusts. Like, he doesn't – it's not like he has to be the man. But at the same time, if we're in a situation where I'm like, hey, I need you to be the man and take this big shot, like, he's not afraid of it, and just – He's such a good team guy and willing to do whatever it takes for us. If it's one of those things where somebody's really hurting us, KD, I need you to go lock this guy up. Don't let him score, or don't let him catch, and he'll go out there and do it. And those are the kind of guys that coaches love having, is just the guys that are willing to do whatever you ask them to. You know.
So I saved our best for last, of course.
I was going to ask, when you went to Scooter, I was like, you forgot somebody, and he's going to be real mad.
I did not forget him. Save the best for last. So KT Thurman returns this season and should be a big contributor for this team, whether it's as a starter or as a sixth man.
Yes, sir, absolutely. He's been in both of those roles so far. And I was really, really proud of him the day that when we played North Little Rock. Yeah. He was the sixth man that day. And I thought he played phenomenally. He came off the bench, and instead of pouting and being mad that he didn't start, he just accepted. Okay, coach told me why I'm not starting. I know why I'm not. Now I'm gonna go handle my job and show him why I need to start. And I thought he did an excellent job. Being physical, getting on the boards, shooting open shots, doing all the things that we talk about, that we want him to do every day when we're in practice. And I was really pleased with that. Of course, when he's been in the starting role, he's played really well doing that as well. So it's not, I'm not trying to say he's going to be the sixth man because he played it well, but just the fact that he understood that there may be different nights, we've got a variety of skill sets, and so depending on who we're playing, we may change, and the guys that have played for me in the past, they'll tell you we'll go through more starting lineups than just about any team out there, just because we like, especially in non-conference, we want to play with different lineups, see what works, what doesn't, who can play this defense better as a group, who does this better offensively, and try to figure it all out in non-conference so that we're ready for the games that actually count. Yeah.
Getting my call from the Hall of Fame. You see that, Coach?
Oh, man.
Canton's calling. They're ready. So we'll turn that over so it doesn't bother me anymore. But KT is that guy. Hey, we said it last year. He's one of my favorite guys from last year. You just look at the kid, and he's super athletic. He's got great length. He seems to have found that little bit of extra explosiveness this year to get to the rim as well. I know he enjoys getting a dunk on folks. He got a big dunk, I think, it was the El Dorado game, or when we were able to do that game. So KT's a guy that I think once he accepts his role, whether it's coming in as a sixth man or being the starter, he's a guy that understands too that he's a huge piece to this team and can provide a lot for what you guys want to do and to get to reach those goals, getting back to the state tournament.
Absolutely, he's so versatile and like you said, so athletic. I mean, 6'6", extremely explosive. In all reality, if he wanted to, if he had committed to being a football player, he would have been a college receiver. No doubt about it, hands down. He plays baseball. I've talked to Coach Fore. Coach Fore said that he's got the potential. He's good enough he could be a college pitcher. And obviously in basketball he's good enough to, he's already got some offers and everything. He's good enough to be a college basketball player. I mean, that's a special kind of athlete. Yeah. If you're good enough that you could play just about any sport in college, like you're a special individual. And his personality is just so likable. Like you said, he was one of your favorite guys. He's never met someone that he doesn't like and that doesn't like him. He gets along with everybody. He's most of the time got a smile on his face, and he's pleasant to be around. And that's that's a big attribute for him, not just on the court, but off the court as well.
Yeah. So we'll jump into the new faces now. And the first new face is actually a very familiar name. I think anybody that watched our football broadcast, followed the football season, is well aware of the best wide receiver in 5A, Roderick Watts, and he joins the squad this year, and I'm excited to see what he brings on the basketball court.
Yes, sir. And he was on JV last year, and so he's got some experience being around the guys and everything, and just kind of seeing how the program runs. Now, like I said, he didn't get the varsity experience, and so this will be a new experience for him. But it's crazy. He's so long.
Yeah.
He's not real tall. I don't know what's he listed at, like 6'3" or something like that. But I think his wingspan may be like 6'7", or just it seems like it, because when we're in practice and the couple of games we've had already, he's able to get his hands on so many deflections and steals. And he just, he catches a lot of people off guard, and he's also he's deceptively quick. If it's just if we're just running a sprint, he doesn't necessarily win that, but just I guess he catches people off guard, and he makes good reads on the defensive end. When we get out and press, he's going to be a big factor for us. And the thing I like about him, and with most football players, is he's got that toughness. He's willing to go in there, and even if he is undersized, he's going to go bang with somebody and try to get that rebound, and so I really like that about Rod.
Yeah, after I think it was the El Dorado game, I've actually got almost a whole highlight clip just of Rod from some of the plays late in that game. Just watching him, he surprised me a lot. Obviously, we've watched him play football, but I've never seen him play basketball, and to see him out there, not – his quickness, number one, his ability to get to the rim, I thought was pretty impressive in that game. And then I watched a little when I come through to get equipment today. I saw him a few times out there, but in practice. But seeing him get up to the rim, he's another guy that can play above the rim as well. So just everything about Roderick just screams athlete. And I remember the first time I met him, we had him here as a player of the game. And you always think of wide receivers as divas and these guys that just have the big personalities. And it was one of the first questions I asked. And here's Rod, who's just super humble, quiet, just yes sir, and just a super kid. We were joking. I think it was the Whitehall game. He was playing on the defensive side of the ball, and Andy on the call said, "What if he is offensive and defensive player of the game in this game?" I said, "Well, all he's going to do is just get up there and say, well, just had to do what's best for the team. Just had to do what Coach wanted me to do." And that's just Rod. He's such a humble kid.
Absolutely, he's so humble. He's chill. He's just. It's like he's happy to be there, and he knows he's got a job to do, and he's going to do what that job is. And so he's another one of those type kids that you love having them around. They're always great for your program, the team, climate, culture, whatever. Of course, you do need a few guys that are willing to get on people and be more vocal, so you can't have all of them that are that quiet and everything, but it's really good to have guys like that, because like I said, he's another one that gets along really well with everybody. I mean, it's hard to not like Rod, just because he doesn't give you any reason not to, and so he's just such a good kid, hard worker, and so I'm looking forward to like I said, we've only had 4 practices now with the football guys, so I'm looking forward to getting him more acclimated, and I think he's going to be a big contributor for us this year.
So Elijah Newell, you and I talked a little bit about him, a guy that's a sophomore, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So another new face, and really a guy who's kind of been thrown into the fire a few times here early in the season, and I've been impressed with him. He's had some impressive flashes so far in the first few games that I've gotten to see him play.
Absolutely. And he his 9th grade season, I think they only played 3 games just because it ended up getting shut down with COVID and everything, and so he doesn't have a lot of experience. But, man, his all preseason, I mean, he's been fearless. A lot of times with sophomores, they're kind of timid and they're trying to figure everything out. But, man, he's been just willing to get after it, to go at people. And, I mean, all preseason, like I said, he's been going up against Carl and some of the other guys, Colby and Dex, that you're going to talk about in a minute. And, it's made him better. And early on, like I said, we like to throw those young guys out there and put them in these spots because, I mean, non-conference games don't matter. They're non-conference, to me, the reason you play non-conference is to get ready for conference, and so and he stepped up well. There's been some times where he looks like a sophomore, which you expect from all sophomores, but there's been other times where he has gotten out there and really, gotten after it and done what we needed him to.
So another new face, Jamal Maul Summons, the younger brother of NBA world champion Bobby Portis, transferred over from Little Rock Hall, and he's going to provide a big physical piece inside for your Hornets.
Absolutely. Maul he's just, he's only probably 6'2" or 6'3" as well. So he's small for a big guy to be inside, but he's extremely physical, and he understands basketball. He's been down there long enough. He understands the angles and stuff, and so he does a really good job of rebounding. And then it's funny, like, people always talk about guards and, their finishing moves and how well they finish at the rim when they're attacking, being smaller, going up against the bigger guys. Well, Jamal has extremely impressed me with his ability. He can reach way out here and kind of fling it up and think, instead of just the traditional layup, but he's had to adjust because of his, size going up against the bigger guys. But he does a really good job finishing around the basket and everything. And don't think that we don't practice threes, because when he'll show you, he'll step out there and he'll knock one or two down, here and there as well. That's one really nice thing about this whole group. Like, pretty much anybody at any point can step out and knock down a three. And so, but yeah, Maul's one that, like I said, he can do that as well. And just his willingness to be physical, like we talked about before we had the football guys, there wasn't a whole lot of physicality or presence inside. And so he's definitely provided that for us, and I think we'll continue. And I think going against, Nico every day, and we kept Jack Roby or Jordan Harrison, and so getting to go against him as well, like, it's just going to get Maul better. It's going to get him more physical, and it's just, it's going to make us better as a team going forward.
Absolutely. Dexter White, another transfer. This comes over from Little Rock Parkview, and White's going to fit right into the pace you want to play in, and so far he's been very impressive as well in the first few couple of games.
Absolutely. I love this kid, man. He is just – it's hard not to like him, because he's got such a good head on his shoulders. Like, he's fantastic basketball player, but kind of going back to, like, you were talking about Rod, he's super humble. Like, and he knows that, at Parkview he didn't really get a chance. Like, he didn't get a chance to show what he could do, and here he's 100% going to get that chance. He started for us every game so far, and at this point, I don't see anyone beating him out. I mean, he's our best defender, best on-ball defender. He can really, really guard, and he can knock down the three. I mean, so far he's leading the team in threes made, and I believe 3-point field goal percentage as well. And like you said, as far as our pace, he's one of the 3 or 4 guys that we'll have out there that can get the ball and go, and he can get from one end of the floor to the next really quick and help get us into our offense and everything. And so it's, it's only been, almost an entire semester that I've, gotten to know him and everything, but he's quickly become one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah. So, and then the last new face might be the most talked about so far, but Mr. Easy Money, Colby Garland, a transfer from Magnolia where he got to play alongside Hogsign Darian Ford, comes to Maumelle, and he's not really a new face to your guys on the floor. He's the guy that played with Carl Daugherty Jr. over the summer and a couple of these other guys. So talk about Colby and what he brings to this team.
Yeah. Colby, Carl, KT, and Dex all played together, over the spring and summer. So that chemistry is already there. They're comfortable playing together. And Colby, he's so fun to be around. I mean, I know you've been around him just a little bit. He's a character. He's very, very entertaining. He's one of those good old country boys and got the country boy sayings and everything. But he's another one similar to like Nico. He's going to hold his teammates accountable, and he's going to speak up. He's not going to hold anything back, and that's because he works, hard too, and he's already earned the respect from everybody so that he can do that. But if guys aren't doing what they're supposed to or getting where they're supposed to be or whatever, he's very vocal, letting them know, like, guys, we got to do this. We got to, I mean, he's won 2 state championships, so he's been a part of a winning program and winning culture as well, and so. He knows what it takes, and he's going to be a major component for us. That first game, he that everybody talked about him when we went up to
Yeah.
Springdale. He had 41 points on like 16 shots. Very, very efficient. And the thing that I love about him most is his IQ and the way he sees the floor. I mean, it's impressive. And he's a pass-first guy. I mean, he could score just about any time he wanted to, but he wants his teammates involved. He does a really good job of that. Now, we've had several talks about pace and how we play fast, and he likes to get it and walk it up and kind of examine the floor and everything. But we've talked about we got to get it and go. We want to score in transition when we can. If it's not there, okay, let's pull it out and then let's set up and run some offense and you do your thing. But I told him, I said, if you don't start pushing it in transition quicker, we're going to have to take you off the ball and let Dexter bring it up. And he was like, I got you, coach, I got you. So it's been a joy watching him and just his, like I said, his ability to, like at Springdale, take over a game if needed. It was fun to watch because he would get his teammates involved. And then, if it was close or Springdale took the lead, then he would just kind of take over for a couple of minutes and get 3 or 4 straight baskets and get us a lead or extend our lead. And then he went right back to being that team guy and getting everybody involved. And, he's really fun to coach already. And like I said, his personality off the floor is so likable that it's been a joy getting to know him personally as well.
Yeah, and I think he's shown that versatility of the kind of player he is just through those first couple of games. I mean, you talk about the 41-pointer, which I think afterwards, and I've talked to Jim Ashley a little bit, and he's been doing some digging through the record books, and we believe that at least that's the second highest point score game in the history of Maul, I think.
The highest was in the state finals.
Yeah.
Sean Williams, when him and R.J. Glasper from Forest City pretty much went head-to-head.
Yeah.
And both of them were in the 40s.
Yeah. So, but a big game there. But then I think it was against El Dorado. He had a highlight-worthy pass inside, just facilitating the ball on a play. I think it was inside the Maul. I don't remember exactly, but there was a no-look pass that had us all fooled. Andy and I were looking the other way. I mean, it was impressive. So I'm excited. I do want to make sure – I'm going to look at the camera when I say this. Just because Band-Aid and I wear glasses, we're not the same guy. I'm Hornet Hog. He's Band-Aid. Keep that in mind, Colby. All right, now that we got that out of the way. So, so before we finish up tonight, so a good mixture of returners and new faces. But also several of these guys, as we've talked about, have played together in the summer. So when you look at roster makeup, what do you think will be some of the strengths and weaknesses of this year's team?
Definitely the big strength that stands out is just the experience. I mean, we've got 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that have all played in big games. I mean, they've been on the big stage, they've played in the big games, so that experience, I think that'll help. I think that was one of the things, in the state finals last year, we came out kind of, nervous or something early on, whereas I don't think that'll be an issue this year because they have all, gotten that experience. I think the chemistry will get where we want it to be. Right now it's not quite there, but it's getting better every game. Once they continue to build that trust in each other, and the trust in the coaches making the play calls and realizing that the more I involve my teammates, the more I get a chance to be successful. And I think that will be a strength. We've had a pretty good record to this point of being able to do that with our program. And then the other thing is just the versatility. I mean, like I said, the trio in the backcourt right now of Dexter, Colby, and Carl, I don't think there's a better one out there. Mm-hmm. And when you talk about if Riley's able to come back to 100%, you throw him in there as well in the backcourt. I mean, I'm for sure there's not a better one. Four guards in the state, on one team, and then and like we talked about with Nico, he's just a matchup nightmare for anybody. So having the ability to where we can beat people off the dribble, we can definitely knock down the 3-point shot. Nico can post people up, or he can beat them off the dribble. Having the guys like KT and Rod and them that, like you said, that are a little more explosive and being able to get out in transition and get those highlights and things like that, I believe that the versatility is going to be really beneficial for us.
So before we finish up tonight, I do want to talk just a little bit about these first two games. Officially 1-1 after opening the season here at home in the Hoopin' for Hitties tournament, which this is not in my notes, but I think between you and Horton, we're going to have a conversation about these early season schedules and ensuring that we find somehow to play games in Maumelle. We got fortunate that Hoopin' for Hoodies got moved to our place, so we were able to play in front of our folks. But, of course, no games at home in December, and then we'll be back middle of January to get conference play started. But a win over Pine Bluff, 81-67, a good victory there to open it up. Talk a little bit about what you felt you saw from your team in that victory and what those guys kind of showed you.
Well, I was extremely proud of them. We went down to Pine Bluff last year and got beat by 3 or 4, and they got everybody back. Now they were missing one kid that he had an injury.
I know they were missing Crutchfield.
Yeah. And obviously he's their best scorer. I don't know if he's their best player, but he's their best scorer. So obviously that would have made it a totally different game. But the way our guys came out and we matched their physicality, we matched their intensity, because that was what I felt last year, was they came out and kind of bullied us and just pushed us around. And we kind of cowered back instead of going at them. And I felt like this year, we were the initiator. We were the ones being more aggressive, and we were the ones attacking them. And it led to, us getting good looks, by attacking the paint. And, they got that big kid in there, the Harris kid, that he could block just as many as Ware did. But luckily we did a good job of getting in there and kicking it out. Knocked down several open looks, forced their defense to get into some rotations and got us some good looks, some easy baskets. And anytime we can get in the 80s, our goal, we want to score 80 a game this year. We think we've got the personnel to be able to do that. So anytime we can do that, that's, one of the check marks for the game goals that we want to get. And so, I was really pleased with them for that.
So the second game, and no favors done scheduling when you do tournaments like this, because you kind of never know how it's going to fall. But you got to play the class of the 6A, class of the state. Number 6 team in the country in Max Prep, according to Max Preps. I've seen some polls have them, in the top 20 pretty much across the board in the nation in this North Little Rock team. And everybody knows. You've got 2 5-stars, a guy, top 10 player in Nick Smith, a top 40 player in Khalil Ware, a guy that I think I've said before. I really like Corey Washington Jr., a guy that's you talk about matchup nightmares, a guy that is kind of anywhere on the floor and can play from anywhere. But I felt like, and I know you learned a lot about your team in this game, but I think we talked about it afterwards. Maybe big crowd, maybe just a little, I don't know, shell shock, whatever you want to call it, in the first quarter of that game. Kind of got behind, but still battled in the second half of that game and only lost by 12. Had to have been pretty proud of how your team responded really late in that game and played against North Little Rock.
Yes, sir. And the guy running the Hoopin' for Hoodies, there were some communication things or whatever, and I think he was trying to get certain teams and whatnot, and it wouldn't work out. And he asked me, he said, would you be willing to play North Little Rock? And I said, absolutely. I said, what do we got to lose? Yeah. Like, why wouldn't we? And we're not going to cower down and be scared of anybody. We'll play whoever wants to play. And I was, like I said, first quarter, I was disappointed. I was not happy. I felt like our effort was not where it needed to be. Like I said, I don't know if it was the crowd. I don't know if it was the 5 stars, the 6th team in the country ranking. Part of it, I will say, was for sure me. We had played, when we played Pine Bluff, we played our zone better than we did our man-to-man. And I thought, with the 7-footer, he's going to be tough to match up with. Let's try to play a zone and let's try to, kind of almost automatically be in a double-down situation to take him out of the game, force them to shoot on the perimeter. And they did they knocked down a couple threes early. They were able to kind of pick us apart and get some layups early, and then we dug ourselves such a big hole early that, it was kind of a bad spot. But after that first quarter, we told them, guys, this is just basketball. Like, they're just another high school team.
Yeah.
Like, and look at the score. You don't have anything to worry about now. Just relax and go play. And once they did that, it was a totally different ball game. Obviously we didn't come back and win or anything, and North Little Rock was never worried that we were going to. But the way we competed and started adjusting how we were playing and realizing, like, in the first quarter, hey, Ware's got 14 blocks or, whatever. Like, we probably shouldn't go all the way in there. And so we made some adjustments and started working really hard. Like I said, Dexter, he kind of set the tone for us, guarding their point guard and, got a couple steals on him and just really set the tone. And like I said, we had switched to man-to-man. Nico and KT did a really good job being physical with Ware and not letting him just catch it under the basket and dunk it. And like you said, Corey, I mean, I think Corey's so underrated. Yeah. I think he's a big time player, and he's so versatile. He can knock down the three, and he dunked it about 12 times. Yeah. So, but if you look at quarters 2 through 4, we outscored them. Yeah. And I was really proud of them. That they showed me what they can do, and that was what we talked about after the game. There was no yelling or getting on them or whatever. It was more of praise. Like, you got to realize what you can do, and we got to stop having first quarters like this. Like, we should have learned from the state finals last year. We've got to play from the beginning, no matter who we're playing. And the other thing that going into the game I was a little concerned and worried about was the possibility of, if things got ugly, the possibility of finger pointing and this and that. But I didn't see any of it or hear any of it. None of my assistants said anything to me about it, that they noticed it. And I thought the guys really, they came together, and instead of like, why are you shooting this, or why didn't you pass, or why didn't you play defense, or, any of that, instead of that finger pointing, it was more of, come on, let's go, we can do this. Like, I got your help, I got this, here's the extra pass. And also Colby got to realize, because, we had the conversation in that second half when we started playing more at the pace we wanted to, we got good looks, like we got layups and I'm sure some of that's because North Little Rock knew they had the game won or felt they had the game won, and so they probably relaxed a little bit. But still, we were able to take advantage of it by playing our style, and I think the guys realize if we'll get up and go and play fast, like, there's not going to be many teams that'll be willing to or able to run with us, especially if we do it for 4 quarters.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about it all the time as fans, and especially if you watch basketball, basketball's a game of runs, and I think even if you get down 20, you can make a run quickly and get that thing to single digits, and that's really, I feel like, what you guys were able to do well in that game was just keep battling. And you talk about Colby. Colby didn't have his best game in that game. He didn't score a lot. He facilitated, when he could, but I think at the end of the day, he learned a lot about himself. But I think more importantly, and maybe it was the crowd, because you look at how things went last season with COVID. You really didn't have anybody in the arenas. Yeah. You didn't have anybody throughout the 5A state tournament in the arenas, and then suddenly you get to the state finals and they open the doors and everybody comes in. And so then again this year we've really not played. I mean, we had a good crowd for El Dorado. We had a decent crowd for Pine Bluff, and our buddy James Whitley was in here a little while ago, and I asked him what he's up to these days. He said, just planning being the leader of that student section, and I thought he did a really good job of keeping those guys amped up over there.
Shout out to them, man. The student section they always are. They're locked in. They keep our guys so just enthusiastic and engaged. And like you said, with being a game of runs, if we get down, our student section, they keep us motivated to keep working, and we're we feel like we're never out of a game. And if we have a lead in the game, we feel like we can extend it just because of the energy that they provide for us. And so big shout out to all those guys.
Well, I want to wrap up, and just a couple things. One, I want to go ahead and announce now, because I think the only people that know this is those of us here and you and Coach Horton. But we will be broadcasting all of the games this week. So Thursday night, 5 o'clock, we're going to be in Bologna for the matchup with Little Rock Southwest. Saturday afternoon, we'll be in Bologna for the matchup with Bologna. And then Monday, we will be in Morrilton for the matchup with Maul Charter, which at 5:15. So that should be a lot of fun. And Coach DeSantos should be happy to know that we're going to be there Tuesday night to do the girls in Morrilton as well. So and against Morrilton. So that's going to be a fun one. Looking forward to that. But let's real quickly talk about these next two games coming up. Starting off Thursday night, we get to play a 6A team in Little Rock Southwest. Obviously, a program still finding their way as a new program, but an opportunity for your guys to get back out on the court and learn some things about your team.
Well, yes, we actually played Southwest. It was our first game of the year. Now, it was our JV against their JV and half their varsity. Basically, they played everybody but their seniors. And, man, they're huge. They dominated the glass. They've got 3 or 4 kids that are probably 6'7", 6'8", maybe even taller. A lot of length, but like you said, they're still a growing program. There's, Coach Threet does a fantastic job. When he was at McClellan, he beat us in the first state finals that I was able to make it to, and he does a tremendous job. He's a young group. So they've got some growing to do. I think they're 2-1 right now. So we're definitely looking forward to that matchup. Of course, during the JV game, their varsity was there, our varsity was there, and there was some trash talking going on. So we're looking forward to seeing who can back it up on the court. So that should be fun. And then Bologna, I don't know for sure, but from what I've heard, it's between them and Russellville who's going to win the West. And so I know they're going to be a big competitor. They got a new coach, Coach Campbell, comes from Central. Before that, he was at Jonesboro, so he's got championship pedigree. And I know he'll do a good job with that program. They've got a lot of guys that returned from last year. They've got a couple of really good athletes. Of course, the quarterback, Austin Myers, he's probably their best basketball player, just really versatile kid, good all-around player. So they'll both be good matches for us. So we're excited about it, looking forward to it, and seeing how we bounce back after the North Little Rock loss.
All right. Well, Coach, I want to say thanks for joining us tonight for Hornets Live. Before we go, I do want to remind everybody, if you are looking for opportunities to advertise or just sponsor or help us out on the broadcast, give us a shout. We do have a couple of advertising opportunities still available. So reach out to Will or I on social media, or just message us through the Maul Sports Network or Natural State Sports Facebook pages. A schedule update for fans. So we will not do any shows in December, but we are excited to be right back here starting January 3rd, which will be a Monday. So we're going to switch from Tuesdays to Mondays, and we'll be here every Monday through the end of basketball season at American Pie Pizza. So thanks to Tamsy and her folks. I know Andrea loves being our server. She takes great care of us every night that we're here, so we're looking forward to that. And we'll return again every Monday through the end of basketball season. So be sure to make plans to have dinner with us every Monday here at American Pie Pizza, where you'll get the inside scoop on Hornets basketball. And then be sure to join us this Thursday night at 5 o'clock as the Hornets look to get to 2-1 on the season against Little Rock Southwest. All right. Have a great night. Go Hornets.
All right. Thanks.